time to tag you another episode of Tag Time. As usual, I'm going to bring you something different, something new, but something very contemporary. Today we are going to talk about a very good movie which is on its way for all the marketing and its promotion. The name of the movie is Khoya, and you must have a lot of questions, but before that I am going to introduce you to my dear guest, who is the writer and director of this movie. Welcome to my show, Mr. Sami Khan.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Sami, when I was reading about your description for the movie, the first question which came to my mind was this: that is it your life story or is it a fiction?
So it's both, actually. It's taken from inspiration from moments and events in my own life, but it's fictionalized. So a few years ago, I found out that I had a long-lost brother, a boy that was put up for adoption years before I was born, years before my parents met. And as I began the process of looking for him, the first ideas for Khoya came about. Now, he was adopted in England, but my father is from Jabalpur in India, and I kind of fused the two sides of my family, my mother's side and my father's side, and set the story in Jabalpur, in and around Jabalpur, in the homes and farms that I grew up going to almost every year when I was a boy.
So it's a very, very interesting thing, because the world we are living in right now is very global world. So where did you conceive the idea? While you were living in England, or you were in Canada, or you were in India?
So I was born in Sarnia, Ontario. I grew up in Sarnia, Ontario, and I did my undergraduate in New York State. And then I did my master's at Columbia University in New York in filmmaking. And when I graduated from Columbia a few years ago, I guess it's 6 years ago, I started this journey. The first idea for Khoya came about, so I was actually in New York at the time. But in the 6 years it's taken to, write, to finance, to film, to release the film, I've spent so much time in India researching, writing, shooting the movie, and now doing the distribution and release. So it's given me a deeper connection to the land of my father and the land of my ancestors. And I think the biggest thing, it may sound like a simple thing, but the biggest thing that I learned is just the geography of the space. Jabalpur is built very haphazardly. It's not like Delhi, which has Connaught Place. It's laid out very perfectly. Jabalpur is very chaotic, and for a long time I had no idea how to get from my uncle Jamil's place to my uncle Majid's place. I would get lost, but in the course of making Khoya, I figured out, okay, it's basically east. If I just walk east, if it's morning and I just walk towards the sun, I'll get my way to Majid uncle's. And that was actually, I was quite proud of it. It maybe reflects poorly on me, but it's simple things like that give you a deeper appreciation for a place. And then there's all the other rich details, like discovering a whole theater scene in Jabalpur and in Bhopal, where we did a lot of the casting, and then also the folk music which we found in the Narmada River region, which was so beautiful. It just really deepened my love and affection for the country of my father and my ancestors.
So what is the basic topic of your movie? How would you elaborate the story if you want to give an intro for that?
So Khoya is the story of a man who was born in India, and when he was a very young boy, when he was a baby, he was adopted by a Canadian family. So he was raised his whole life in Canada, in Toronto, and he really knew nothing of India, of his origins. And so the story begins with the death of his adopted mother and his sort of last tie to Canada dying. And this is when our main character, decides to go to India to find his birth family and to solve the mystery of his adoption. And it's a film, so things don't go according to plan. There are complications along the way.
And those complications are beautiful. So let's talk about the difficulties, and let's talk about the mesmerization of certain points where the director and the writer is amazed to see beyond his expectations.
So one of the biggest challenges actually was, I was in Jabalpur, the production team was in Mumbai, prepping, getting the crew ready, all the equipment ready, and we actually had to recast the lead role, this Indo-Canadian man, because the original actor, his visa didn't come through, and it just came to the point where we have to recast, we have to find someone else, otherwise we're not going to have a movie. And so it was 2 weeks, and actually that year, a few months earlier, Rupak Jin, who is a friend, someone I'd known as an acquaintance for about 5-6 years, had reached out to me on my birthday, July 17th, to say that, happy birthday, and you have a great birthday, because it's the same birthday as my 1-year-old son. And flash forward again, when I'm in Jabalpur and we're having to recast this role, Rupak's name, jumps into my head. It's okay, I know a possibility. And so I messaged Rupak back. I said, what are you doing? Do you want to go to India for the next 2 months and leave behind your 1-year-old son and come work on a independent Canadian film for no money? And he jumped at the opportunity. And I like to say that I began the process of KHOYA of looking for one brother, but along the way I actually found two, because Rupak and I have become so close, like best friends, like more than best friends. So that is something that it began as a almost insurmountable obstacle and has become something, a triumph, really.
Mm-hmm. So what were your expectations, and did they meet while you were shooting? Because you were going from one end of the world to another contrast of the world. So what were your findings about that thing?
Well, I even, being very experienced traveling in India, having lots of resources in India, a great production team, Gunit Munga and Miraj Sheikh, who produced the movie The Lunchbox, and have done great movies, both independent Indian films, but also Bollywood films. So I was fairly confident going in that, we could do this and it wouldn't be too difficult. But, there was the problems with, having to recast. And then on our first day of shooting, I thought it would be a smart way to start shooting in a graveyard where my ancestors are actually buried, many generations of my family. It'd be a quiet way to start the movie. It would ease the Canadian crew into India. It would ease the Mumbai crew into Jabalpur. So we started shooting around 6:30 in the morning, and there were about 10 kids watching us. But by 11 a.m., we were surrounded by 1,000 kids. And we were trying to shoot a quiet scene, like you and I talking now, but we were surrounded by 1,000 kids. So the spot boys, like the production assistants, and the one police officer we had to clear the frame. And the actors, Rupak and Ravi Kanvolkar, a fantastic actor, were just so focused and did an amazing job. And after looking back, we sort of developed a theory of why there was so much interest, because it was more than just a camera. But we had the slate, the clapper to roll before every take. And of course, on the slate, it had the director's name, but it didn't say my full name. It just said S. Khan. So we think the slum kids maybe thought Salman Khan had come to Jabalpur and was shooting some, Ekta Tiger, ×3 or something. But
so usually movies have different categories. We put certain type of movies into certain category, and we expect the results according to that. So which kind of category will you put your movie into?
It's a drama. Yeah, it's a drama. It's not a masala film. There is music, it's very important, there is song, but it's a drama, like the Lunchbox, if that's familiar to viewers that won Khan a few years ago with Irfan Khan. It's very much in that spirit, yeah. So it's a drama, and it's a road movie, and it has elements of a mystery because it is a character trying to solve the ultimate mystery. You know, where do I come from? But at its heart, it's a drama, and it's a movie I think people in Canada, Indo-Canadians, can resonate with because we become estranged from our home. You know?
Actually, you have raised a very good question in this movie, which is to find the identity. And while being first generation is something different, and when you're born somewhere else, you have pretty much get acclimatized and so much traditionally embedded into the system you are living in. So it's very big question around so many people to find it out, that where their identity belongs to. It's very, very human factor to know, that gives us a lot of strength. So coming to the point again, I would like to know that since it's a very different kind of topic, which is, we can say that it's a little bit of art, little bit of social messaging, little bit of ideological type of a movie. So it's a serious type of a movie. So while there is so much work done already into the Bollywood movie market, so what is your expectation regarding your experience, that what will be the outcome for your movie?
Yeah, I mean, what we're trying to do is we're trying to build an audience for films that are made by, you know, Indo-Canadians and Indian Americans that serve the community, the diaspora in the United States and Canada, and maybe in Britain and South Africa, East Africa, other places where there isn't a lot of mainstream production of films for our community. And I think ultimately that's what we're trying to do. You know, what you were just talking about, those issues of trying to figure out identity. Where do I belong? What does home mean? I can't go back to the past. I can't go back to what Jabalpur was in the 1980s, 1970s. I can visit now, but it's different now. So those questions, I think, aren't being addressed by, you know, Bollywood, for example. They have other concerns. They have, you know, they have issues to address in India, and we can connect with those issues as well. But also there's an obligation we have here to address our own issues. So that's what we're attempting to do in trying.
Actually, where you're born and brought up, you have the very reality of your social systems by yourself. Experience is always personal. So personal experience can be expressed through the person who has experienced it, who is the first person to get through that kind of journey. So coming back to the point, when we talk about these kind of subjects, do you think that this kind of movies get the response they should get?
I think there's two issues. There's sort of there's the establishment, as it were. You know, there's a sort of Canadian film establishment, and then there's also the response that we get on the ground, in the community, in the theater. So I think there is still work to be done to convince the Canadian film establishment that they should tell more stories that reflect the Indo-Canadian experience. And I think that's an ongoing conversation, and change is never easy, but it's something that, you know, we have to do. And on the ground, I think the response has been overwhelming. You know, our opening night screening was sold out. You know, the vice consul and a couple of representatives from the Indian consulate joined us, and we had a great opening weekend. And you know, as I was coming here, I just found out we got extended at the Carlton Cinema, so we'll be playing for at least another week at the Carlton Cinema, and then also playing at expanding to the Kingsway Cinema in Etobicoke. So I think the response in the community has kind of spoken for itself, and we're just hoping to build on that and keep connecting with people.
There, I was coming to that point, that where people can watch this, where they can go. Is there any specific place? Would you please explain again the cinemas who are right now showing that movie?
So we opened on the weekend at the Carlton Cinema at Yonge and Carlton downtown. We sold out our opening night screening, and we had packed houses for Saturday and Sunday. And based on that, the Carlton Cinema has extended our run at least for another week. So we'll be playing this coming weekend and into the 23rd at least, so people can go there. And then we also just learned that the Kingsway Theater in Etobicoke has also wants to pick up the movie, so we'll be playing there as well. And people can find out more details by going to our website, which is KHOYAthefilm.com. And they can also find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/KHOYAthefilm.
Okay, so coming back to you now, as a director and writer, what is your journey? How long have you been engaged into film sector, and what were your inspirations which brought you to do this kind of work, which is very difficult, I'm sure?
Yeah, well, I think it was the cliche is my father got a video camera when I was very young, 6 or 7, and eventually my father lost interest in the video camera. As happens with fathers sometimes, they get their toys and they lose interest, and I sort of picked up the video camera and started playing with it, and also would mess and tinker with different electronics equipment and edit two VCRs together and make montages. So from a very young age, I was telling stories, and for when I was young, I was interested in telling stories like Steven Spielberg or kind of lighter entertainment. But as I got older, I realized that life is more complex than just good and evil, and I wanted to take the sort of expertise that I had in storytelling techniques and use it to address more complex, more adult notions. And that's sort of KHOYA is really the first massive attempt I've tried to do that and take issues from my own life, my family's own life, and tell a story about that and try and bring some understanding to it ultimately. So I've been doing it for a long time, 20 years, and I went to Columbia for film, so I have some graduate professional experience, but it's always a learning curve, and shooting in India was something else entirely.
It's a very, very difficult experience, but it's very interesting always. I always say that the most difficult things in our lives are the best teachers to us. They teach us a lot.
Definitely.
So coming to the point that you have struggled while living in here, and I'm sure that your work must be visible to mainstream also. So anything particular you want to give the message to the audience, that those who are looking forward to do something which they want to share with people through this art of filmmaking, what would you like to address them?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a couple of things that I would tell people. One is to keep working, to keep trying to get better. And even if it's just, sometimes life can be daunting, it can feel overwhelming, but if you can just focus on improving one thing, that's what I try and do, is just trying to improve one thing, whether it's my editing or my writing, working on dialogue. If I can just work on this one thing for a little bit and just get a little bit better, then I'll be making myself a better person. Or sometimes it's just being more forgiving. Sometimes I'm very hard on myself, very critical, and so if I can just be calmer and be less critical of myself. And one thing that helps with that is to surround yourself with people who are trusting and loving and who are honest. And to go back to talking about Rupak Jin, who's the lead actor of KHOYA, I think that it really was Kismet just finding him, because we have the incredibly strong creative relationship that's built on that honesty, that you can say something to someone honestly and you don't have to worry about hurting their feelings, or and also the support, to pick you up when you're struggling. And Rupak told me that he was actually really struggling before he got cast in KHOYA. That's part of why he reached out to me on my birthday, is he was desperate for a role. And I'm glad that the world will see him in this role, because I think he gives a fantastic performance. And I'm so grateful that bit of coincidence came about and we worked together on this movie.
I would like you to once again tell our viewers about the place they can see and how they can access that movie.
Yeah, so if you go to koyathefilm.com to our website, you can find the show times, you can find reviews. We got a wonderful review in the Globe and Mail on Friday, which was very inspiring. And they can find the trailer, more info on the story. They can find more about our backgrounds as the filmmakers and news and reviews and everything. And we're also on Facebook at facebook.com/koyathefilm. And they can see, you know, pictures from the premiere on Friday and from our screening at the Mumbai Film Festival in October.
Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your views and your ideas and all the work you have done. I have a wish for you for a good luck.
Great. Thanks so much for having me.
Viewers, there are so many issues which are very predominant nowadays within Indo-Canadian community. While we are living here, we all go through different challenges, and then those who overcome these challenges, they should talk about it, because we can resolve a lot of our issues by a table talk. Talking good and resolving the issues is the challenge of this time, which can build bigger, better communities around us. Movies and art are the expression of personal observation of your surrounding and putting it together visually to sometimes convey certain things which we do not put attention towards, but by watching them we realize that how much we share together with other people. Compassion is the thing which brings us together and which resolves so many difficult points within ourselves. I would like you to go and see this KHOYA film, KHOYA.info. You go. They are screening right now at a cinema also. You go on the website and get the information. Maybe something will strike you and you will also be passionate to know that you are not alone. There are so many people like you. With these words, thank you very much for watching my show.
When I was a boy, I was put up for adoption here in India. I've come to find my parents. I'm Raja Moreau. Was told you could board me for the next few days.
You are late.
What's going on with my birth documents? What?
Basically, it appears to be a fake.
यहाँ कोई मोरी ओरी नहीं है। क्या काम है?
Sorry.
काम ही के समय आ जाते हैं, जाइए।
Just staying here for a few days while I look for my family. But I don't really know what I'm doing.
#1 multicultural channel. This is TAG TV.